Wee Annie, stout Scottish hospital matron, in the mid-90s we chronicled her life experiences, sometimes under duress. From running liquor in hat boxes during Prohibition on Manhattan, to pre-penicillin medical practices of World War II in Scotland, and all the precious understanding that's almost slipped away with the passing of the greatest generation. My great Aunt Annie was born before World War I in Garrick, Scotland, on the banks of the Clyde River. She immigrated through Ellis Island with her family to Manhattan and later Greenwich, Connecticut, only to return to Scotland as a young adult and become a nurse just in time for World War II. She's quite shy, so you'll see during these sessions that were made on cassette over 20 years ago that my mum and I are far in the background having to do housework and cooking in order as to not remind her that she was being recorded. Join us in her little salon by the coal fire in Kirkcaldy, Scotland. Once your tea's brewed, of course. In this first segment, my Aunt Annie tells the story of immigrating from Scotland to New York City in 1925. My grandfather John had scarlet fever as a 6-year-old and was in the isolation ward there for over a month and a half. Like so many coming to this country looking for a better life, their path was not a straightforward one. This is their story of that time.
The 5th of December, 1925.
And when did you arrive at Ellis Island?
It took 10 days to cross because I went up to Canada and came down the coast to New York. We had to go to Ellis Island because of John with the scarlet fever, because they suspected that we might be carrying the germs.
So you arrived mid-December.
My mother put them both in the same berth together, John and Don. And in the morning, when John woke up, strawberry tongue, spots, feeling rotten, scarlet fever. And the doctor examined you as you went. You see, in those days, they examined the third-class passengers in case they had anything on them.
Of course.
So my mother was very insulted. But they made her strip, and of course she never uncovered herself before. And they'd go, went over, and they didn't say there was a chest murmur, there was a heart murmur at that time. But of course she never paid attention because mothers didn't pay attention to little things like that, you see. And anyway, so the doctor looked at John. God, help us, it. So my mother was crying and she was very upset with him. He was whipped away to the fever hospital.
So he didn't make it
from the boat.
Huh.
And of course, he was there for 6 weeks.
Oh, no.
And my parents could visit him and look through a little glass window. I had to put on gowns and caps and everything.
Poor boy.
And my father and my mother used to have to go down once a week and able to see him through this. And they never knew they were there because they didn't want to frighten him. And he was such a favourite with the nurses. And he had his birthday while it was still in February 9th.
Yes.
And he had his birthday there, and they bought him a bow tie, a little tartan bow tie, and they brought it home with him when he came.
I think I have that.
My father came up to collect us and was told he couldn't, and we were shoved in Ellis Island, the 3 of us. Nobody could speak a word of English, not a word, and we couldn't even find where the bathroom was until a French woman had bath, so she pointed to the bathroom.
You must have wondered what you'd gone to.
Well, we're talking about Ellis Island here. It's a great big hall.
There was a film about that. There was a film.
Well, it's a great big hall that they all sit in. You probably saw that.
Yes.
Well, we sat there. And at that end there was a whole lot of wooden benches. And all these foreigners, they had felt boots on, great flowing skirts, babushkas, their head all tied up in babushkas, the funny men with little hats and scrounging like this. And us. And I had a ball that I was bouncing. And they got in among this gang of people. Never saw it.
No.
They kept it. So we had to sleep in some kind of a dormitory with iron beds and cots. And there was a beetle on the wall, a roach. Well, my mother killed it, you see. And she went for the sort of woman who looked after us, a sort of warden person. And she said, I'm very sorry, but there's a beetle. I killed it. It was climbing on the wall and there's a beetle. And I killed it. Ha ha, says the woman. You'll see plenty of these before you're finished.
Really?
Which was perfectly true, because the steam there are plenty of beetles in New York City. But anyway, this is what she had said to my mother. My mother was shocked, very shocked. And then another thing, we got steamed. No, we got steamed fish this day, but my mother wouldn't eat fish with sauce on it. She said it was a French concoction. She wanted the fish as straight off the barrel, straight from the boats. Because I used to get down about 6 great herring monsters for 6pence on a mash it. She used to send me down to the man that came around with the carts, you see, from the boats, pushing a barrel. And here was this fish, boiled fish, covered with a sauce. She wouldn't eat it. She wanted it again. Of course, the men weren't paying any attention to her because there were all these damned foreigners. They were trying to feed all the waiters, you see. So they just swapped the plates out like this, you see.
In this next segment, Annie describes being sent out to fetch meat and other provisions for her mother as a young girl as she grew up in Harlem and summer days picnicking and rowing on Pelham Bay.
Anyway,
But your father came in August.
he came in August and he got furnished rooms for us, and we went into furnished rooms.
Okay.
And, well, that's a lot about the furnished rooms. But they were in what is now Harlem, 108th Street and Central Park West.
Really? Yeah. Yeah.
108th Street, right in the corner.
That's right there in
And
Harlem.
Central Park was a proper thing. You could go in and walk about and nobody would bother
You
you.
don't want to do that now.
Couldn't do it now. But it was an Amsterdam Avenue was where we did our shopping. Now I was going to tell you about this at the Hoch, and my mother sent me out with the messages, of course, because she didn't know the streets and I was starting to learn. And I went to this butcher, a German butcher, and my mother had said, get a pound of Hoch. I went into the German butcher, pound of Hoch. Oh, that was insane. And of course, I just, meats for soup. I had to go back to my mother and say, he won't give it to me, he doesn't know what I want. And then another time, there was black puddings in the window. She decided she'd make some black puddings, which we eat in Scotland. You slice it up and eat it with bacon. And I went in and I said, it could have, I forget how much it was, the black puddings. No, not for you, not for you. These are blood sausage. I didn't know whether blood sausage or not, I just knew black puddings.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't sell me any. So I had to go back and tell Mum,
Yeah.
And another thing, you know how in the New York's, they come around once a month, they exterminate. And this door opened, this knock at the door, my mother went to the door and oh man, he was this man. And he, stop me right there. She didn't know why he was talking about. She said, I'm sorry, excuse me. Stop me right there. She said, no thanks, not today. And she said to my father, man came up and he said, stop me there. Oh, he said, that's the exterminator. He comes around and squirts in all the steam pipes for the beetles. Oh, said my mother. She hadn't known that. And then she went to buy cutting material when we got the new house uptown in Immigrating. She had to get measurements for the windows. And she went to this shop to buy cutting material. And she said to me, hey, like to see cutting material, please. Ah! She said, New York, very polite folk. And she said, cut material. Ah! Cutted material for the windows. Oh, curtains.
That sounds like New York.
Never going to learn this language. And you know, we went all kinds of places. We found a way to go to Pelham Park, and we went up to Pelham Park, and my father took us out on a rowing boat in Pelham Bay, and we hit a rock underneath. We nearly drowned right away because there was a rock under the water and we'd skimmed over the top. Four of our families sitting in a rowing boat, none of them could swim. My father's rowing like mad. And we went over this rock and it's underneath. You could see the rock under the water, but nobody'd seen it.
No.
And then around about all of it, big trees and big picnic places. And I was going about nosy, I was 14, but I was a great big nosy girl. I'm looking nosing about. And there was a lot of things like nuts on the ground. And I'm collecting them, you see. Mother said, what have you got there? And I said, it's nuts. Not nuts. Not nuts, I didn't know what it was. Peach stones from the picnic folk. They were eating peaches and throwing the stones. And of course I didn't know anything about America. And I thought it was nuts.
Oh, you thought...
And they were peach stones, and I was collecting them, and God knows who'd been eating them, of course. But the things that went on, you know I did.
This last segment reviews the doubtful American opinion of British coffee making and their methodologies, including using salts and eggshells to reduce the bitterness.
How the English made coffee. When I first came over in 1936, all Americans said, oh, they can't make coffee. Well, if you listen to the methods, may wonder. They got a little pan, and they put in the coffee, the ground coffee, the ordinary coffee. They put in salt and they frizzled it on the heat, over and over the heat, they frizzled it, the salt and the coffee. They poured it on hot milk, and they brought it to the boil, and they drained it into a jug. That was one way. The other way, you put on your grains, you smashed up an eggshell as small as you could. You put that in with the coffee, and you put it in the hot pan, and you put it round and round and round till it had a good frizzle, and then you poured on the boiling milk. And that's what you used to make for the doctors. And they drank it. But of course you give that to an American, he nearly was screaming mad.
I'm not surprised.
Proper coffee made with a percolator is what they use. I've got one in there, by the way. I haven't got the coffee.
Thank you for joining us for episode 2. The next time we'll be taking a more in-depth look at the medical practices during World War II. See you next episode.